A ceasefire agreement between Iran and Israel has been announced, following intensive diplomatic efforts involving the United States and Qatar. However, despite the announcement, hostilities persist on the ground, with missile strikes and air defense activity continuing. US President Donald Trump announced the ceasefire late on 23 June 2025, declaring that both Iran and Israel had agreed to a complete and total ceasefire. The ceasefire was structured in phases over 24 hours, ending what Trump described as the 12-day war. The president credited the agreement to behind-the-scenes negotiations led by senior US officials, with crucial mediation by Qatar's emir, who reportedly persuaded Iran to accept the US proposed terms following Iran's missile strikes on a US base in Qatar. However, Iran's state media portrayed the ceasefire as something imposed on the enemy, rather than mutually agreed upon. An Iranian anchor on state-run Iran National News Network suggested that Iran's missile operations and the unity of its people led to the ceasefire. Despite the announcement, tensions remained high. Iran's air defenses were still active over Tehran after the ceasefire was made public. CNN's Fred Plykin reported seeing anti-aircraft fire lighting up the sky in the Iranian capital. Meanwhile, missile attacks continued in Israel. The Israel Defense Forces reported missile launches from Iran toward Israel, prompting air raid sirens and activation of defense systems in multiple regions. In Beersheba, a missile struck a residential building, killing 3 civilians and injuring 6 others, according to Israel's emergency service, Magen David Adom. Earlier in the day, Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi suggested that Iranian military operations had ceased around 4 am Tehran time, though he had clarified that there was no formal ceasefire unless Israel halted its operations. At the same time, Israel launched renewed airstrikes on Tehran, with reports of multiple strikes across the Iranian capital. Evacuation warnings were issued for areas including Meron and District 6, further undermining hopes for a peaceful resolution. The ceasefire comes after significant military actions by the US, which launched strikes on 3 Iranian nuclear facilities the previous weekend. These strikes, claimed by Trump to have obliterated Iran's nuclear capabilities, were seen as a key factor in bringing Iran to the negotiating table. The announcement of the ceasefire also triggered reactions in the oil market. Crude prices fell significantly, with Brent crude dropping 1.8% to $67.17 per barrel, while West Texas Intermediate crude declined by 2% to $67.13, marking a reversal from earlier price spikes caused by fears of prolonged conflict. While Trump and Republican lawmakers have praised the ceasefire as a diplomatic success, critics remain skeptical. Democratic lawmakers have raised concerns about the legality of Trump's initial strikes on Iran without congressional approval, with some calling for legislative action and to limit presidential war powers. As of 24 June 2025, the situation remains volatile. Both Iran and Israel have yet to issue coordinated statements confirming the ceasefire, and military actions on both sides continue. The success and longevity of the ceasefire will depend on de-escalation measures in the coming days and the willingness of both parties to honor the agreement amid deep-seated hostilities and public skepticism.